welcome to a brand new edition of Star Trail. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Joining us today, the entire team of Lucknow Central. Welcome to NewsX, all of you, firstly.
Thank you very much.
To you first, Farhan.
Yes.
Music, of course, is an intrinsic part of your daily life, your real life. So happy that this film has music as an intrinsic part of the journey of your character, literally from the start to jail and then hopefully out. We never know in the end.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the music is very inherently a part of the narrative of the film. The character Kishan Mohan Girotra is a musician, an aspiring musician. Wants to be a music director in film. So that was something that, of course, was appealing. Yet at the same time, when I first heard, I was like, should I do it? I just finished Rock On 2 at the time when I met them. So like, another story about a band, a musician, maybe I should think about doing something else. But when I heard the script, it's much more than just about the music and much more than just about being a musician.
Yeah.
It's really, it could apply to anybody's dream, anybody's passion, and how at times things get in the way of that. But you need to hold on to what you love most, because that's the only thing that can give you joy. So it really was, it's been a wonderful journey.
Okay. Well, I read somewhere, Diana, you of course said you were very grateful that this role came your way. What's so special about this part that made you say that?
The story is special. Like Farhan said, it was, it's beautifully written, and it's a hopeful, feel-good, fun journey about these guys. It's got jail life, jailbreak, music, you name it, it's in the film, and I think that's a very interesting combination of ideas. And secondly, the character that I got to play, she's quite a strong woman in a, male world, so to say, in this film at least. And I wanted to play something like that. We have not had that chance to do that before, so it worked out well, and I was very happy when I met Nikhil Advani, and he gave me like a one-liner about it, which got me really hooked. And I said, but I want to know more. And he said, no, but I can't tell you more. Ranjit's the best person to narrate the story. So I came back the next day, met Ranjit, and he took me through the whole story. And it was an instant yes for me. I just knew that it's a film that I want to tell, and a story that I want to be part of. It is special, and I think you'll like it.
Well, as you said, it was very close to Rock On 2, but you believed in the concept. What was your first reaction when you heard of another film called Kaidi Band, which also was releasing, in the same, literally the same 6-week period?
I mean, first you start with it.
And it's very different. Of course, they have a different story.
Right.
But
not only that. I mean, even just the first part of your question. It's not a story that's close to the story of Rock On 2 at all. It's just that playing a musician again. I think that's what I was wondering whether I want to do or not. The films are completely, I mean, they're poles apart. But I'm coming to Kaidi Band. I haven't seen the film, so it's difficult for me to comment on what that film is about. But whatever little could be gauged from seeing their trailer was there seemed to be, I mean, some similarity on the larger level, which is that it's about musicians in a jail who want to escape. But I feel like just in terms of the nuances of what that film was doing, what that film seemed to be about beyond just the technicality of this action, it seemed to be very, very different. And our film, the motivations of the main character, her character, Ronit's character, who's the jailer, and then of course all the other players as they get introduced in the film, is going to be very, very different, I would imagine, from what that film was. So I don't see any similarities beyond just the structure, I guess, on some level of it.
Okay. Well, what was the inspiration, Ranjit? We have to come back to you on the inspiration behind the film. It's a story, of course, that's happening in real life tales across the country. But was it particularly the Healing Hearts band that I believe was the inspiration?
Well, there's the first article I read, and it just like with everyone, when you narrate the concept that's jail and music together and it hooks on to you. The same thing happened when I read the article. It actually felt, because I was looking for a story, and this, when I read, was something which fascinated me, and I went to my producers and then my actors. But the best part is, I had no idea about this concept where jails people actually have bands and stuff like that. Then I did some research on bands across music and other parts of our country, what other jails do, and there's so many jails. Then I saw a documentary on Tihar jail also, where inmates, they are performing with menopause, parikrama,
The Tihar Idols.
The Tihar Idols. And English songs they don't know, and so nicely they have rutted the whole lines, mugged the entire lines, and confidently they are performing. It's a great thing to see that most people are not hardened criminals. They have made a mistake in a moment where they couldn't control their emotion, and they made some mistake, and rightfully they're in prison. But as human beings, they're also human.
And some, of course, are under trials who are still waiting for their conviction.
Lots of people don't have money for 10,000 rupees to get a bail, and they're in jail for 4, 5 years because they don't have 10,000 rupees to get a bail for a small crime they have done. But crime is crime. I'm not justifying that. But anyways, just the humanity level is a different level, because outside, when I had not gone into all these things, I always felt jail hoga yaar, bure log honge, ye honge. But when you meet them and when you talk to them, you ask them, "Aap karoge wapas?" बोला सर अगर मौका मिले तो मैं लाइफ घुमा दूंगा, कभी नहीं करूंगा. You know, those kind of things.
Right.
That 10-15% are hardened criminals. They are kept separately also in the jail. They are not allowed to mingle with them. They are given today, in few jails that I went, they are given a lot of liberty. They allowed their families to meet on weekends. So jail authorities also doing a lot of things, getting them to work inside so that they can learn some skill. When they're out, they can actually use those skills to have a livelihood.
Well, you of course play, an NGO worker and someone who of course works with prisoners and understands their hopes and aspirations, etc. So do you feel music is, the only way out for some of them in jail to live a different?
It's not the only way out, but in this case, and especially in this film, I think it worked beautifully. But if you do a little research, is what I did, and also spoke to Ranjit, and there's different, as an NGO worker working with criminals, there's different ways to reform and rehabilitate, and music is one way, but you could teach them various vocations and try to have them acquire certain skills, whether it's in carpentry or stitching or pickle making or whatever it is that that I've even read about or heard of, that they do in Yerwada, for example. But yes, music, drama, performing, the performing arts is also one way. And I think that Ranjit brought that in very beautifully in this film.
Okay.
You don't know TJ is a brand that comes to a house also. You don't know. It's made by Tihar Jail. So there are snacks called TJ brand. There are lots of things called TJ brand, which I didn't know. And
no, there was, in fact, recently.
They're doing very well, actually.
Yeah. Recently on our channel NewsX as well, we had played a Tihar art exhibition. The prisoners, they learnt art, etc. And they had an exhibition, and it was in one of the prominent galleries of Delhi, in fact. But speaking of the Healing Arts Band, I believe you did recently meet them.
Yes, we did.
How was that experience like?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, just to see those smiling faces, really. They're going to be, those people have been in jail, will be in jail for many more years. But just to see that joy that they get from playing music for others and making other people happy through music. It's a great way, I think, of them also giving back. I'm assuming that there is obviously some crime that they've committed which has broken the hearts of some people, I guess, whoever those crimes were committed against. But now, over time, this band called Healing Hearts, that's kind of going around. And they're taken from jail, they play at weddings, they play at birthdays, and they're infusing joy into other people's lives. And I think that's a great way of them giving back, to society, what they probably took away from one family or one person. And it was very, very heartening to see. And they were exceedingly, of course, very welcoming, because they knew this film's been made and that they were the inspiration for the film. It was very, very nice.
Okay. Before actually starting the journey of filming, did you also research by interacting with some of the convicts, or did you speak to Ranjit about his,
there was a lot of research that Asim and Ranjit had done. And more so actually on the earlier part of Kishan's life, not so much on the jail. They wanted me to be very, very clear about Muradabad, where he comes from, the way his demeanor would be, what kind of character he is, what a cool dude supposedly from Muradabad looks like, and the way he speaks. So a lot more research went into that. You see the character of Kishan going into jail in the film. So there was a certain degree, of course you want to know a certain amount, because you know your scenes and you know what's going on, but there's only so much you want to know, because when you have the other performers, be it Ronit, be it Deepak, Rajesh ji, all of them, when they come in, they are going to bring in their own interpretation of the character that they're playing. And you want that to you want to discover that while you're there, because there's a certain dynamic in jail that you as a newcomer into that system are not aware of. So there's only that much I did research. I didn't want to get into knowing too much about what jail life is like. I wanted to also just kind of enjoy that process of discovery while we were shooting.
Exactly. And while, of course, your film, I mean, jail plays, of course, one part of it, but do you think there is a need in the country for jail reforms as well? As Ranjit was saying, of course, they're hardened criminals, you can't justify crime, etc. But there is a deal of humanity needed. You need certain standards, etc. There is a need for jail reforms in the country.
Well, I mean, that's the system that we've set up. We've set up a system where we want prisoners to be, inmates to be reformed. And if that's the system we're following, then absolutely. And the jails that we visited since, there is a tremendous emphasis on reformation, which is very heartening to see. Like he said, there is a certain lot of inmates who are very hardened, who are repeat offenders, you know, and they are kept away from the general population of people who are there for a one-time, a first-time crime, and who the jailer, the people in charge believe that this person can be reformed. So those people are taught skills, like Diana was saying, you know, like they're taught, whatever they have inherently inside of them is brought out, or they're taught certain skills, so that when they go back, they know that they have the potential to contribute back to society and to live a life that is respectful, you know, to take care of their family, for their family to look at them and feel like this person is no longer a criminal, here's a reformed man. And we as a society, if that's the system, which I feel is a good system to follow, have set up, then we must see it through.
Okay. Well, I read somewhere that you also got intimidated by Farhan, or you felt intimidated by him.
See how we're sitting?
Are you still intimidated?
I must say, these chairs, you can either come asking for a job, or sitting outside a principal's office, or you can be Tony Montana.
Yeah.
You know?
I must confess, I also wanted to start my interview like that, but I think the editors would have had something to say about that.
Yeah,
I'm so intimidated by both of them right now.
Exactly. But what was it about Farhan Akhtar? Was it just you know, your pre-perceptions?
I guess so, because we'd never met before that, and we've never worked together before. And neither have I worked with any of the other actors on this film, or Ranjit. So there was a lot of new people to meet, to break the ice with, to kind of get a sense of whether they were judging what I was, you know, my performance, and whether I was good enough or I was able to live up to that mark. And so I guess I did build it up in my head a little bit.
What was your perception of Farhan before you met him?
Well, I mean, I always knew that he was, you know, a very good actor, and I think that's what, if you want to use the word, intimidated me the most, because I've watched his films and I know he's very real, and you know that I feel like that was something that, so when we were actually on set, you know, and that I got to experience that for the first time. But what I took back is that it helped my performance a lot. You know, as a co-actor, being in the same scene with somebody who's good as himself makes you by default, you know, good to a certain extent at least. So it was, you know, I built it up in my head, but it wasn't really like that when we actually started shooting.
And do you remember your first meeting with him?
We met at a cast reading.
Okay.
Ranjit set up a reading for the whole cast, which is where everyone came together, I think, for the first time, for the film at least. And that's when we met.
But that's true. I mean, even there was nobody on this film that I've worked with in any of my films. Nobody.
Right.
Everyone was new. So be it the co-actors, be it
the technicians
crew,
also.
be it the crew.
Yeah.
I had not worked with anyone. The only person I knew was the stunt master's right-hand guy.
I mean,
No,
acha.
They know who was doing the stunt double work and showing me what to do. He's the only guy I knew from Wazir. I was so happy to see him, like a familiar face that I got to see, but that was the only one.
It's like when you go to the next year in school and you see someone familiar in your class and they're getting
He was
tougher.
the only person. Everybody else was
So it took a while for you to get adjusted, no? You didn't think...
No, I mean, once you're on set, then you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't anyone that I'd worked with.
It takes just the first day, actually.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, talking quickly, of course, about your role, you said that it's a strong woman character in a male-centric world of jails and, of course, dealing with convicts and policemen, etc. Do you feel that's, in a way, quite systemic of what's happening in our country as well? There are women breaking the ice right now and breaking the glass, not the ice, but the glass ceiling, literally, in all fields, be it, of course, acting, be it in singing, be it in politics, law, etc. In fact, the country just got its first full-time defense minister as well.
Yeah.
So do you feel that
I
is something that's happening in the India of today?
For sure it is, and why not tell those stories. And even in terms of films, I feel like that we're making more female-centric films with, you know, the women playing lead roles, and those films are being well received, doing well with the audience as well. So clearly things are changing, and it's, you know, one can only be grateful and happy with the change.
Okay. Well, Farhan, a lot of people wanted me to ask you this question. Farhan, the filmmaker, taken a bit of a backseat right now? Or is that something that's just coincidental and not in your hands? Because we haven't seen a film from you, and a lot of people want to see a film directed by you and helmed by you in a while.
Right. You know, it's great up to that point. Is that they also then go on to tell me which film it is that they want to see.
Yeah.
That becomes slightly troublesome. But no, I'm at this point. I think the work that I'm doing, Lucknow Central, for example, and everything that's about to follow, there are films that I really feel very happy to be part of. And there's a certain time in your life where you do get offered this kind of work, where you can play these roles. Life will move on, you will go older, you know, and things will change. So while I'm feeling that there is this amazing thing going on, where people feel that it's possible for me to play these certain parts in films that, of course, I'm loving the stories of, I'm going to go ahead and do it, you know. And for me, I have loved directing movies. I will always continue to love directing films, and I will direct. It's bound to happen, because it's something that's always there in the back of my mind, and the minute it's gone from the back of my mind, somebody reminds me of it. But see, it will happen. It will happen. I think when it will happen is
there a story right now that you feel that you would want to direct in the next couple of? Are you looking at some script right now, or not really?
No, I mean, there's discussions happening all the time. You know, that happens all the time. So be it people who come and give us scripts that they feel that they'd like, you know, me to direct, or even if it's ideas that Ritesh and me discuss, that I share with him that this is the kind of film going forward that I'd like to do. So those discussions are constantly happening. But right now, I think what's important is to stay focused on the task at hand. You know, I think that's what's important, because it's unfair to the people who are investing their time and energy into a film with me in it as an actor, for me to be having my mind somewhere else. So that's really what I'm focused on.
That's a valid point. And after a hiatus, you've had a series of films, Diana, that have come your way. So you're not complaining, and they're all as you know, as different as they can get. So literally from you know, a hiatus after Cocktail to Happy Bhag Jayegi to, of course, Parmanu as well, which is coming up after this, Lucknow Central, which you're promoting right now. So good time
Good
for
time.
you.
Can't complain.
Yeah, in the industry. Something about Parmanu as well, if you can quickly share with us.
Parmanu releases on the 8th of December. It's a film with John, directed by Abhishek Sharma, and I think an important story to be told. It's based on the nuclear tests that India undertook in '98. Kind of an event that changed the history of our country and the way the world perceived us. So I feel it's important, you know, to, and if you think about it, the new generation has no clue about, you know, the story, the facts, and there's a lot I discovered along the way as well. You know, we all know basically what happened, but we don't know how it happened, the mission, you know, the facts. And so it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to that one in 2 months.
And after these successful films and interesting subjects, does it still, I mean, how do you respond to that perception and the tag that sometimes people who've delved into films from the modeling career still get, that models can't act, despite so many models who've been successful?
Why? But why? I don't understand why people say that, because some of our top actresses today were models before they started acting. So there's proof that that's not true.
Okay.
And a lot of top actors and actresses become models. That also.
Multi-talented.
Multi-talented, exactly.
Going both ways.
Absolutely. Very quickly, 2017 has been an interesting year for the film industry. As a film producer and a filmmaker and an actor yourself, what is the audience really taught you this year?
Well, I think the only observation, I think learning takes a little bit more time, but I think the observation is that the audience is telling us that they want films that have more than just mere entertainment for them to come and be part of. You know, it has become an expensive ordeal to go to a theatre and watch a film. And you go as a family, I mean, the tickets in itself, I guess the travel there back, the stuff that your kids will want to eat off, you know, in the interval, or your family will want. It does cost a lot of money. So when they go there, they want something that's going to be a bit more memorable as a day or an evening out. And at this point, there seems to be an emphasis on wanting to see more stories about us as people, about culturally what we represent, what we stand for, discussing as lightly or as heavily issues that concern us, that emotionally resonate with us. And that seems to be the thing, and I feel as an industry we should celebrate it, you know, because I always feel that filmmaking at the heart of it all, if you strip away all the layers of whether you want to call it glamour, fame, everything else that comes with it, is at the heart of it is about telling stories, you know. And if the audience is telling you that please tell us good stories, and if that's the message that's coming our way, we should actually be very happy that that's what they're telling us that they want, and on one level even reminding us that this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
You know, so I feel on that level, maybe it's, of course it's disheartening when films don't work, because people work very hard to put a film together. Even a film that doesn't work is put together with a lot of effort, so you do feel very bad. But at the same time, we should maybe take some kind of heart from the fact that the films that are working are films that have strong content, you know, in them that's relatable for today's generation.
As the adage goes, content is king, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, two quick questions before we end on a Lucknow Central note. There was, of course, this incident in Gurugram of the child who was found, you know, unfortunately killed in a school, and is being investigated. Yes. But as a father yourself, is it imperative that our schools and authorities provide security for children? You know, you leave them in schools thinking they'll be safe. The last thing you want is a story like this.
Well, I mean, you know, firstly, the grief and pain that family must be feeling right now is unimaginable. So, I mean, my deepest condolences to them and to all the family members and friends of that child. And I mean, I don't think it's only as a father, you know, I mean, I just think, I mean, even if you're not a parent yourself, you know people who are parents, you know other people's children, and you want society to be safe for everyone, you know. And I mean, all parents feel that when they drop their child off to that gate at school, you know, and the kid walks in through that gate, that they've been sent to a place where you as a parent can relax for those 6-7 hours, you know, that their safety is being taken care of, their health is being taken care of by someone else who you trust. When something goes wrong in a place like that, you know, it really sends a shiver down your spine and what you perceive to be safe anymore. And it's a huge responsibility now on educational institutions across the country. It's not the first time something like this has happened in a school. We've had a molestation since in a school of a young girl, I think maybe 5 or 6 year old again. And it's happened before in the past in schools. And what has been the learning of it? Because if it keeps happening, there's obviously lessons are not being learned. And obviously just putting a CCTV camera that after will show you what actually happened, the trauma has already occurred, you know, the damage is already done. And chalo, the person will get justice, but the family is put through hell, you know, and so is the child if the child survives. So there has to be, I mean, whether it's background checks, you know, better evaluations of people that you're bringing in to constantly be this in the proximity of your children. There have to be some stronger, stricter guidelines laid down for all schools so that parents can feel safe and children can be safe. I mean, this is a time for them to be learning, enjoying life, you know, playing, and you don't want to restrict them because of your fears now that they're not safe going even to that place. So I just wish that, I mean, there is stronger, stricter guidelines laid down for how schools and institutions enroll staff.
So very pertinent thoughts by you, and of course the father in you, I think, was speaking there, definitely. We'll end on a Lucknow Central note. It's a very interesting film, and Ranjit, it's your debut directorial. So final message to the audience on why people should go out and watch it.
Final message is, when you watch the film, I hope people come out with a smile on their face. That was the intention. That's what I feel should happen. Hopefully, if it happens, good. And if they can take something back home after watching the film.
And I believe he was a producer's delight. His costumes his costumes hardly cost anything in the film.
I think there were no costumes only in the film.
What do you mean?
Do char the.
But yours was the most inexpensive.
No, but it's true. I mean, the film doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
How many clothes can you carry into a jail? You can't keep changing costume. There's no dream sequences, unfortunately.
Just proves that it's a very real film.
Absolutely. A very real film, and a film made with a lot of passion, and a film about some inspiring stories as well. We hope it does well, and we wish you all the best. Thank you so much, Farhan and Ranjit, for speaking with us.
तुम्हें यकीन है ये प्लान काम करेगा? तुम्हें यकीन है ये प्लान काम करेगा?
प्लान तो भागने का है, पर सपना बैंड बनाने का है। दर्जनों सौ की भीड़, 7 बजते हाथ, सबके जवान पर एक ही नाम, किसान, किसान, किसान। भाई उड़ना कट्टे में आ गया।
Welcome to Lucknow Central.